Hey guys, welcome back to Deeper Than Most. I'm your host, Sab.
And I'm your host, DJ.
And we are on episode 30.
30.
Dirty 30.
Literally.
That's us
30.
right here, right now.
That's crazy. We out here.
30 30s, yeah. I know, 30 episodes. 30 consistent
episodes.
Weeks of us just pushing out content for y'all. But we love it. It's fun. So
definitely,
we're just gonna keep it going. Why stop? But today's episode is actually really interesting. Is this our first cult episode?
It is actually, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't, dove into the mysterious world of occults yet. So we're doing that this week. And not just any occult, but we will be discussing Jim Jones and the People's Temple today.
And a quick disclaimer for those who may be a little triggered by certain things. This episode will be covering suicide and or murder. So
yes, and death of children.
Yeah.
Many at that. So yeah, this topic is very intense, but also it kind of is a pinpoint in history, in American history to be exact. So yeah, it's just a wild ride, and we're about to buckle in right now. So, you ready?
Let's do it.
But before we roll into that, we have our... Okay, so we did a poll on our Instagram and on our Facebook page. If you aren't following us on our Instagram, if you aren't in the group page on Facebook, like, what are you doing?
Are you really even
listening? The conversations are lit over there, and we have a lot of fun. So, yeah, feel free to do that. We also have TikTok now. We're not on TikTok that often. We might just delete it. I don't know. But we are on TikTok, and we're also on Twitter. For those who don't know, for those who are new. But, yeah, so we did a poll asking you guys for recommendations
to title this segment. And this is the segment where we do our little intro topics.
We talk about current events in the world. But we don't want to just call them current events anymore. So we did a poll, and our options were Dose of the Most,
The Weekly Woes,
and the Worldly What the Fucks,
and
Scratching the Surface. So... yeah, we had 4 options. And the one that we will now be using from here on out in every episode is, drumroll please, Dose of the Most.
Nice.
So yeah, out of all the polls, Dose of the Most took the lead. It was close though. Dose of the Most is what we will now be calling our current events from here on out.
Yeah.
So we have 2 Dose of the Most today. And the first one is crazy. So I'm just going to let you, and both of these can start some type of conversation. I want us to discuss our thoughts on these topics afterwards.
Mm-hmm. So right now.
Yeah, so I'll let you go ahead and start reading this.
Kids being spoiled with necessities. In April, the U.S. Department of Agriculture launched a program that would provide free meals to kids in grades K through 12, regardless of their parents' income.
And I think this is actually a good thing for right now because of the state of the world. Mm-hmm. Money is just few and far between these days. Probably not for everybody because, there's people out here still living the life.
The 1%.
But, yeah. But I feel like this is something just for the common people, middle, lower class. Mm-hmm. Something that would benefit all households.
Right. However, certain students in Wisconsin don't get this luxury. The Waukesha School District is opting out of the program completely, making this the only district in Wisconsin to do so. Oh, God.
Yeah.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Because, what if you can't afford to...
Exactly. And that's one thing that sucks about different, school districts is they have a different board. Not every school is the same just because it's in the same state.
Right.
They're all ran a little different because they're all ran by different board members. So, it just really sucks for all of these kids that aren't allowed this same support or the
Right.
same help from the
Right,
community
right,
as
right.
these other districts. And I wonder how big this district is. Like, is this one of their bigger districts?
Right.
Is this a smaller one? Either way, kids aren't, being a part. Like, I don't know. I just don't like the fact that they're withholding children from free food that could need it. Like, it's
you
food.
don't know these kids' situation,
and it's at school.
Right.
Like, it's your responsibility to feed the kids anyway.
Exactly, especially if they're in your care for like 8 hours out of their day anyway.
Exactly.
So their main reason for opting out of the program completely is the fact that kids are being spoiled.
By necessities. By food.
Food. So you mean to tell me kids don't deserve food?
Right. Like it's a fucking treat or a prize.
Right. Lawmakers and advocates deem this program necessary for kids returning to school post-SMOVID. It would reduce the percentage of kids experiencing child hunger during these unprecedented times.
Yeah. And that's exactly why they put it in motion. And it makes sense, especially right now.
Right.
So why would you even want to opt from that? Right. Exactly.
But the Waukesha board members disagreed and disregarded these notions by stating families that could afford to feed their children should do just that.
Isn't that crazy?
But they're putting their kids in your care.
Exactly. But that was their reason.
Oh, okay.
Families could afford to feed their children, or families that could afford to feed their children should do that. Right. But, like, how do you know? And you're saying that about families that could afford to feed their children. What about the ones that can't?
Exactly. What about the ones that can't?
And one of the board members from the Waukesha district, it was a woman. I don't remember her name, but she had further stated that, it was like her choice to like have kids or whatever, so it's her responsibility to feed them and take care of them. She said, as a parent, that's your responsibility and it shouldn't fall in the hands of other people. So if they're allowing students to have access to free food, it's allowing families and parents to say that their child going hungry is in other people's hands as opposed to their own. I don't agree.
That's not the point.
Exactly.
That's not the point of them doing this. I mean, I get that. You're not wrong. You should feed your kids if you have the means. But, like, a lot of people are working. A lot of people have jobs. And
during these times, a lot of people don't have jobs.
Yeah. And a lot of people don't have the luxury to just sit down the night before or just before and make lunches for their kids. So that's why schools have lunches for that reason. Exactly.
And another thing about it is, we've been in lockdown for a year, more than a year. Right. And kids have not been in school. They've been at home where they just eat regular food that's at home. If they have food in the home, not every case is the same. But, families have been used to that for the past year and a half. And now children are going back to a school, to a facility, and parents are having to change the way that they're cooking now because they have to reaccommodate to sending your child off to school for 8 hours in the day. Right. So, even that, like, now you have to accommodate your child being gone. So things are different. Now you do have to focus on, now I have to buy lunch food as opposed to cooking dinner and my kid having leftovers. You could still have leftovers for lunch. A lot of kids do. Yeah. But, I don't know. It's a tough situation.
Because it's like, literally, all these kids, and I know they probably do have friends that are in other districts. They're going to see that, and they're going to, hear about it. It's like, bro, what do you mean y'all get free lunch? We don't. We still have to pay our 50 cents or our $1.50 or however much.
It's more than that now, I'm sure. When I was in school, it was like $2.
Oh,
two something.
Shit.
Yeah. No, that shit is expensive. It adds up. So, which is crazy. But, that's what we have for our first dose of the most.
And now,
crazy, isn't it?
Right, that's insane, actually.
Yeah.
What the fuck? Okay, well then, how about this? How about you board members come down and feed those fucking kids for lunch?
Exactly. But no, it's nobody's responsibility but the parent.
Right. Okay.
It's like, okay. So what are the free and reduced meals for then?
Exactly. Because I remember back
in school. And to say that it's the parent's responsibility.
Yeah. Actually, it's yours because they paid to send their kid to your facility.
Right.
But yeah, no. It's okay.
It's just a fucked up situation overall, I feel like. So, On to our next dose of the most. I like the way that I titled this one. I titled this one Shaq and the Stack because this was a serious business move and a business decision that Shaquille O'Neal had made a long time ago. But I just want to spark a conversation about something else once we get to the end of this. I don't want to spoil it just yet, but I feel like it's a conversation that should be had because there's some shit going on right now with Beyonce that ties into this. Believe it or not.
Yeah, I'm just going to put it, I'll keep it short, but then I'll let you start. But, like, I feel like black investors, especially people of even his status, don't get enough credit.
Yeah.
For a lot of shit.
And we know this.
Yeah.
That's with everything.
Yeah.
Designers.
Yeah.
Realtors. Lawyers.
Black investors.
Everything. Yeah. Teachers.
Mm-hmm.
Anything black. Anyways, so not too long ago, Shaquille O'Neal was welcomed as a guest on the Full Send podcast. Now, I haven't listened to this podcast. I've never heard of it. But I might have to check it out just to, like, listen to the full episode and see what's going on and what they talk about. But while he was on there, he had the opportunity to discuss his best business story. A story about 40 mil, Reebok, and an old lady. Well, I don't know if she was old per se, but it was a lady, just a random lady. On the show, Shaq recounted a moment in his career when he had to cut off ties with the brand that he had represented through his whole career, all because of one lady. And not that it was like the lady's fault or her trying to sabotage him, but really more of a realization. So Shaq claimed that the woman had called him a motherfucker for charging kids so much for shoes while he was leaving an arena one day.
Oh, well, yeah, that'll do it.
Yeah. So Shaq then stated in the podcast that he had $2,000 in his pocket when this whole interaction transpired. And he proceeded to tell the lady, and quote, "Lady, I don't make the prices. Here you go." And he tried to hand her the cash as he was saying this. As he was trying to hand her the cash, she smacked it out of his hand and said, "Why don't you motherfuckers make shoes that are affordable?"
Straight up. Straight up.
Yeah. And after this interaction, Shaq reflected on his affiliation with Reebok and ultimately decided to turn down his $40 million 5-year contract with the company. $40 million.
I mean, hey, integrity.
Turned it down.
Integrity is a motherfucker, man.
Wow. He would have been straight just off of that one deal.
Integrity is a motherfucker.
Yeah, it is. And he said that the lady was right and cut his losses with Reebok, then creating his own brand. On the show, he mentioned that after this ordeal, he went to Walmart, which apparently, if you didn't know, fun fact, Walmart's his favorite store. And he made a deal with them. The shoes would be priced between $19 to $29, and since the launch, the brand has sold over 400 million pairs of sneaks. Ain't that crazy? It's a lot.
I know exactly the shoes you're talking about.
I know, and
niggas,
I feel like I used to talk shit about, because what was it? Maybe it was Shaq's shoes that I've seen at Walmart before, or it was Shaquille, or not, that is Shaquille, or it was Kobe. Was it Kobe or was it Shaq that had Walmart shoes?
It was Shaq because people were.
And it was like a bent over logo or whatever. We'll put a picture if you're watching this on YouTube.
And the only reason I know this so well is because every hood nigga that play basketball already know what the deal is with these shoes.
They used to wear them or people used to clown?
They used to clown for these shoes, right?
I remember making fun of them shoes when I saw them at Walmart too. And I mean, we probably shouldn't be, but...
Yeah, nah, in hindsight...
You know, like when you think of Jordan and you think of that high price point and the logo, and then you like go to Walmart and see Shaq's shoe with his logo and that price point. You know, it was just, I don't know, it was a funny thing at the time, I feel like.
And, you know, like, at the time, you know, being kids, we didn't understand, like, why that was the case, but, like, you know, actually getting into the story and listening
to as a kid, you know, people are bullies, and obviously, like, if they see a kid walking around with some Jordans on, people know Jordans are expensive.
Right.
Straight off the bat. But you turn around and see the next kid with some Shaqs on, you're going to be like, boy, what are those? Yeah. What are those? Because I've never seen those at Jordan.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Or at Nike, whatever. He also said that it isn't that kids don't want to wear $20 shoes. They just don't want to wear shoes that look like they're $20. And that makes hella sense. That makes so much sense. Because, like, kids really don't fucking know. They don't.
All these shoes are the same, bro. The only thing that's different on each of these shoes is the fucking logo.
Yeah. And so, with this, what I wanted to kind of highlight and focus on is, how do you feel about celebrities or influential people with money making certain business decisions or attaching their name to certain brands and making certain business moves? Because I'm sure the next basketball player probably would have still had his contract and took that $40 million.
Yeah.
And if you were in those shoes, what would you do?
They definitely would have took that $40 million. And
just because you had an interaction with one person.
It's like I said, integrity is a motherfucker. So honestly, I probably would have opted out.
Really? And this was the beginning of his career. This was like in 95.
I would have opted out.
Really?
I mean, yeah.
You wouldn't have took the $40 million?
No, it's not.
I feel like these days, at least, there's a lot of people that would.
Yeah, most definitely, because it's $40 million. If you're really looking at it,
it's like a good ass deal.
On paper,
who's not gonna take that?
On paper, it's great.
Yeah, and I feel like with these influential people and these celebrities, when they're making these certain deals, they don't think about the people. They don't think about the customers, the consumers, the people that are spending the money to have something with your name attached to it.
Not at all. And they're not the ones making the price points.
Yes, and neither is he.
Right.
But because he even told the lady, like, I don't make the fucking price on these things. Like my name's just attached to it.
That's what I'm saying. The people whose like names are attached to this shit, they don't make the price points.
Right.
So they don't care about
this lady. She doesn't know that.
Right. Exactly.
Why else would she come up to the man whose name is attached to the brand and tell him how she feels?
Exactly.
Because his name's attached to it. Exactly. And this ties into some controversy that's going on right now, currently, all over the internet. Everybody's talking about Beyonce and how she just did some type of photo shoot. I forgot what the promotion was for, but she has affiliated herself with Tiffany & Co.
Really?
But more specifically, it's this specific diamond necklace. It's like very rare. Let me see.
Tiffany, that's kind of cool.
Yeah,
though. I mean,
the blood diamond.
Oh,
yes.
Ooh.
And if you don't know what the blood diamond is, it's a diamond. This is what it looks like. Mm-hmm. Very pretty, though.
It is beautiful.
But there's a lot of hurt and loss behind this diamond because this diamond was mined by Africans in Africa that were, being mistreated, basically being treated like slaves to mine for these jewels for these people, for this company, to sell this stuff. And there was just a lot of mistreatment. There's a lot of history behind this blood diamond. And for Beyonce, it's a problem with Beyonce because she stands so proudly in being black, and she even expresses her appreciation for Africa and her love for the people. But then you turn around and you wear something that there's oppression behind this, there's a history behind this item, and you're proudly wearing it in a photo shoot with Jay-Z. And I feel like Jay-Z should be dragged just like Beyonce is, because he still played a part in it. I'm sure he was at the photo shoot like, get it, B, you killing it. You get me? Like he's just guilty by association. It is a slap in the face. And so that's what I'm getting at, is she attached her name to that brand, and now it's coming full circle, and it's tainting her name in a sense. Probably not gonna taint it too much because it's Queen B, it's Beyonce, but it's the principle of the matter. She chose to associate herself with something that historically was meant to break down your people. Like, you should know this. It's the blood diamond. And the fact of the matter is, people are coming at her neck for this diamond. And because she's a black woman wearing it.
If you didn't know, you should have done your research.
Right. But also, Lady Gaga has worn this diamond before. Audrey Hepburn has worn this diamond before. And I think another big name I can't think of. But none of these other women were criticized. None of these other women were ridiculed. It doesn't make sense. But also, it doesn't make sense that she would attach her name to something like this. You're Beyonce. You already got it made.
Right.
Like, you could have told them, nah, let me put on a different one at least.
Right. At least for the photo. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't even want to...
Right. And it is a very rare necklace, a very rare diamond, and not a lot of people get to wear it. I guess maybe that's what she was thinking going into it.
Right.
Or, I don't know. Like, we don't know what she was thinking. Maybe it was kind of like, you know, getting my gods. Like, let me wear this for the people. Yeah, they had us slaving and digging for this, but now one of us is wearing it.
Right.
I don't know. It could go either way.
Yeah.
But it's the
way
whole...
that it looks to the public, it's just not good.
It's not.
It's not good.
And it's the whole deal of, you know, just attaching your name to something. So if you were Beyonce in this situation, would you have attached your name to that? Like, if you knew what the history was
if I had the
behind
knowledge
it?
and the history, I wouldn't have even touched it. I mean, it's
being
a nice
a celebrity.
offer, but, like, yeah, no, I would not have touched it.
I mean, I don't know. It just, like you said, it's a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Kind of disappointing.
Yeah, it's like I said, if you and you have the resources to do the research.
Yeah.
Do the research.
Right, exactly. But yeah, that's all we have for a dose of the most. Today, it was real juicy. People been doing the most lately, for real. So, yeah. With that being said, it's time to get into Jim Jones.
And the People's Temple.
Yes, and we're going to be breaking this up into 2 parts. The first half is going to be all about Jim, and then the second half will be about the temple.
Part 1, all about Jim. So let's jump into his background. Jim's full name was James Warren Jones. He was born May 13th, 1931 in Crete, Indiana, which is located near Lynn, Indiana. As a young child, Jim was a regular churchgoer. Oh, goodness.
That's where it always starts. Let me stop.
He was so involved in his church that once he graduated from Butler University, he then entered the ministry.
Yes, he was dedicated. Had a passion for it.
Yeah.
Or a calling, if you will.
Yeah.
A lot of these cult members not members, a lot of these cult leaders always have some type of calling, some type of spiritual awakening, some type of shift in their life that just... I don't want to say sends them over the edge, but like, you know.
It's definitely a spiral. Though.
Has them moving different.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does seem like a spiral. Just a domino effect.
Yeah.
Like one major event happens and then it kind of just catapults and sets up the events in the future. Like a butterfly effect.
Yep.
We should do an episode on butterfly effects. That'd be cool.
In the 50s and 60s in Indianapolis, I hate saying that shit because I can never say
Indianapolis?
it right. Yeah.
Just say Indianapolis. You don't even got to say Indianapolis.
In the 50s and 60s in Indianapolis, Indiana, Jim had built a reputation as a charismatic churchman who widely claimed to have psychic abilities. Oh. You know, this reminds me of those little infomercials you would see on TV where you'd have the guys like guessing what goes on in people's lives. I don't know if you've seen those. Yeah.
I've never seen that.
You've never seen... Yeah. Look into it. Jim would tell people that he had the ability to foretell the future and could heal those who are sick.
Sound like Jesus. Jesus Jim. Let me stop.
Speaking of Jesus, there's also another cult. We'll get into that.
The True Way cult? No, that's different.
Jim was a very vocal proponent of racial integration within the church.
Yeah. So his main thing, what it started off as, was him, you know, because this was back in like the late 60s, 70s. So, well, actually around this time, it was like 50s, 60s. So, you know, there was a lot of racial tension in the U.S. at this time. We all know this. We don't need a history lesson. So his whole thing was being an advocate, being a voice for minorities, and being the voice of reason, saying, you know, we should integrate, we should become one, we should work together. That's kind of his philosophy in the beginning. At least that's what he made it out to seem.
In 1955, he established the Wings of Deliverance, a Pentecostal church that eventually became known as the infamous People's Temple.
Mm-hmm.
Around this time, he was noted for helping the homeless as well.
Yeah. Seems like an all-around good
Wholesome
guy.
thing, yeah.
Has everybody's best interest at heart.
Yeah.
Kind of a, humanitarian type of mindset.
Yep.
But is it genuine?
And that's the question.
Exactly. So to continue on, around the 60s, Jim had formed a fear of a nuclear war that could potentially happen. And this was about the whole Red Scare situation.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this was around that time. So there was just a lot of civil unrest, to put it simply. So as a result of this, he relocated his church to NorCal, and this transition took place in 1965. First in Ukiah, then finally settling in San Fran the year of 1971. After moving, Jim adopted the name The Prophet.
And this is where shit hits the fan.
Yes. And this was because he became obsessed with the thought of having power. So I feel like once power gets into the hands of the wrong person, just like, movies growing up, like the bad guy, you don't want them to get the magic stone. You don't want them to get the damn missing piece to the formula, because once it's in the hands of the wrong person, it's all downhill from there, and it just becomes a shit show. And essentially, that's what happened in this situation. So due to his power rush, Jim eventually began facing many allegations, including illegally taking the income of his occult members, only to fill his own pockets with. That's some shady shit.
So he taking the goddamn tithes and offerings and pocketing.
Right. That's some shady shit. And, thinking about that deeper, I mean, you're essentially taking these people's financial freedom.
Yeah.
They're working and giving you all their money to where they have to depend on you because you're providing whatever they need, because they can't provide it for themselves because they're filling your pocket.
Exactly.
You see how it's a twisted fucking game? But then he throws the good energy and, the gifts the blessings back out. Well, yeah, but he takes their money, but then in return gives them a sense of community and this, that, and the third, as if it's a give and a take, but really it's just him taking and taking and polluting these people's mind, and I don't know, just not forcing them to trust him, but persuading them, and manipulating the situation to where they kind of have to trust them.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're giving this dude your money, you have to trust him to some extent already. This sudden power surge caused Jim to take it another step forward. He took hundreds of his followers to Guyana. Is that how you say it? Cool.
Guyana.
And even set up a new agriculture sector called Jonestown. These events took place in 1977. So, it's about to get a little more hectic from this point on. A lot more polluted from this point on. So before we get deeper than what we just got,
we're about to take a minute to thank our sponsors. We'll see you soon.
If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. It's free and it's easy to use.
There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast straight from your phone or computer, making it the best user experience around.
Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more, making it so you don't have to upload to each individual platform.
And the best thing about it, you can make money straight from your podcast with no minimum listenership.
It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place.
So please, download the free Anchor app or go to Anchor FM to get started. And that's anchor.fm, spelled ANCHOR.FM.
So what are you doing? Download the free Anchor app now. So now we're going to get into part 2 of today's episode, and this is where things take a turn, if you will. I mean, this is when shit gets kind of rough. So yeah, we're going to get into the temple and its fall on November 18th in 78. And honestly, this shit is crazy.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I can't even fathom how this shit was even a possibility, like how it just came to be because of this one man.
Well, you know, the way that I like looked at it and thought about it is religion is a very powerful tool. You know what I mean?
You're right.
So, especially within the black community at this time, they needed that type of hope. So he was that voice. You know what I mean?
Damn. See, but like they should have knew something was up. I don't want to say it like that, but like, I mean,
you know,
did they really have to trust a random white guy? Like, I don't know.
I get that. But I mean,
during this time,
yeah.
And look where it led them.
Yeah.
You know, and if you aren't aware, I would say, I don't want to say most of the members in the People's Temple were like a very good black, but yeah, a lot of the members, most of the members that made up the occult were black, and it's just very unfortunate. You know, I don't know. My fucking conspiracy ass thinks that it could have just been a setup to try to eradicate more black people.
I mean, definitely could have been.
Because that's a lot.
Definitely could have been. And it was
there was
very
a lot of
systematic,
deaths.
too. Like I said, it's a very psychological, systematic, like...
Exactly. I want to know who sent this guy. Like, for real.
You know, there was, like... Let's see, what was going on? There's the Klan, there's...
Everything was going on at that time, yeah. So, a growing community, following the move of the community to Guyana, which was located east of Venezuela, the cult reached its peak. Towards the end of the 70s, it was estimated that there were thousands of members in total. In 1977, Jim grew more and more paranoid of the media's scrutiny and the suspicions of outsiders as well. Pretty much, the media was just on his ass because he was doing questionable shit.
Listen to how fucking scary that last statement you made sounds. It was estimated that there were thousands of members.
Yeah.
Thousands. So that's like thousands of people listening to this one man, and the whole time it's not
like
even,
fully committing their lives and their beliefs, their families.
Uprooted everything and fucking moved.
Yeah.
To fucking Central America.
Yeah, and he was very big on showing your loyalty to the family, as he liked to call it, and to him. I also saw a little tidbit about how he used to force the members to call him dad or father.
Yeah.
Because he just thought he was the father of everybody, I guess. And that they were to remain abstinent. And that if they wanted to have more kids, they were to adopt instead.
Right.
So it's very interesting daily customs that they went by. I don't know. It's just very weird. I don't really know the specifics on how they went about everyday life, like what types of practices or things that they did throughout the day.
I'm not super familiar. I had to brush up on it, but...
Yeah. Hoping that his big move to the jungle would diminish all outside problems. He really thought that, you know, him leaving the U.S. would get the U.S. off his ass, but it wasn't the case. Right. It was not. They were real curious about this dude.
Exactly. As they should have been.
Yeah. Whilst the community began building a home for themselves in Guyana, concerns made by friends and family over those who had followed Jim and ventured into the jungle beside him began to arise. And going hand in hand with this, I think it was for newer members, because once you're fully committed to the occult, like, it really wasn't an issue at that point because he had your full trust. Mm-hmm. But in the beginning, you know, if you just joined the occult, you were forced by Jim to, you know, call off of like Christmas with your family and friends because you had to be with his the cult, with your cult family. Yeah, to, you know, cancel all like certain events, major holidays and whatnot, to commit that time to him and your other people, I guess you could say.
Right.
And the people that did this, you know, it proved to him, it was just another step, another trickle of, okay, if they can do this, then they can do that. If they can do that, then they might try this.
Right.
And so it allowed him to just drop seeds.
Just manipulate them first.
Yes, slowly but surely. Because once you're calling off Christmas with your family and friends, he's got you.
Right.
He's got you. Because then you'll be calling off for birthdays next.
And you're just not showing up.
Exactly. And then you'll, you know, eventually start just being accustomed to spending those holidays and
Right.
whatnot with your quote-unquote new family.
Right.
So, very meticulous the way that he went about this. Scary, to say the least. And it's crazy because it's so minuscule. It's little things that you don't notice. It's really...
Grooming is...
Yes, exactly. Took the words out of my mouth. Literally grooming.
Grooming is some scary shit, man.
It is.
Scary shit.
Yeah, it's crazy. So this outcry lured U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan to visit Jonestown in November 1978. He traveled alongside a group of journalists who also had an interest in the harsh allegations towards the temple. These allegations largely centered around the down-low abuse of temple members. Things such as members living in a horrible, crowded condition, such as like a locked-up building where literally nobody had the access to that building except for Jim. Like, not even the people that were in, they were forced to stay in.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And they were also exposed to public beatings. All members. Yeah, so just a very, yes, humiliating them, degrading them, yes. All of that. Really just stripping away who they are as an individual. Yeah, exactly.
Furthermore, after a failed attempt to have a peaceful interaction with Jim or temple members, the group ended their trip short and made the decision to back off and head back to North America. While getting ready to leave Guyana, the group was suddenly attacked by many temple gunmen at the jungle's airstrip. The temple members opened fire, leaving 5 dead. Oh, see?
Yeah.
He even has a fucking...
Oh, he had an army, dude.
Yeah.
A literal army. And mind you, it was all black folks. Like, a whole army. And in the article that I read, because there were multiple people, there were even, like, defectors is what they call them. People that were trying to leave the cult. You know, some would get away. And there was suspicion about how, you know, some people weren't allowed to leave the cult, but there were others that had made it out of the cult and... You know, they made claims of Jim and the temple, you know, giving them like 400 or 4, you know, like a lump sum of money to like start their new life, like their transportation to get away and, you know, start fresh. But then there were also like other people saying, no, if you try to get away, you're going to be killed.
Oh, wow.
So there were people that had tried to leave the cult and they were with Leo Ryan and this group of people. So there was more people like in this area than what actually passed away. Not everybody passed away. There were a lot of people that were left injured. So there were more not incidents, but there were more victims than what I'm, you know, leading on right here. Like there was more people there. So there was this one guy who survived the attack, and he recalled specifically saying, this is how he described it, 2 large black men with cornrows that had guns, and they had approached their truck that was on the way to the plane before they even got to that destination, before they got to the airstrip. And they were checking for people that were trying to leave the cult because they were part of the cult. And so they were trying to see, you know, hey, my wife, you know, was trying to leave and with my kid and I'm trying to stay. So I want to make sure she's not in this little van with you guys. So the guys, you know, they checked to see if the woman and the child were in there with them. And mind you, these guys had guns. And when they looked, the woman and child weren't there, so they left. And there was another occult member in the van with Leo Ryan and these journalists. And the victim that survived the attack, or one of the victims that survived the attack. And the victim remembers this occult member saying, you know, I really thought they were going to kill us right then and there because they're going to be on our ass pretty much. Like, they're not going to let us just get out of this easily. And so they had a fear the whole ride there that, like, okay, something's probably going to happen. Somebody's probably on our ass, especially if these folks just stopped us on the way to the airstrip. There's something more. There's something more here. So they knew. They had, like, an inkling, and everybody was, like, on edge the whole time. And I can only imagine how scary that would be. I mean, not only for Leo Ryan and the journalists, but the fucking, like, cult members that were trying to escape with them. Oof.
Just like, damn, you know, here's my chance to fucking get away.
Yeah, and they know how Jim is. They know this guy. So, you know, they know what he's capable of and how he thinks and how he would react. So I just thought I'd throw that little tidbit of information in there because it's just wild. It's deeper than what a lot of the media says. It's just crazy. The details are wild.
The cult attack took the lives of 3 newsmen, a church defector, and Leo Ryan himself. Hours after the murders, Jim ordered his 900-plus members at the site to commit to a suicide pact. Some sources revealed that certain members were completely open to this final task because of their full-will trust in Reverend Jones, whilst others were hesitant and didn't want to die.
Yeah, that's a scary ultimatum. I mean, it's probably not even an ultimatum because at that point, he's basically telling you don't have a choice.
Either you die
or you die, you know? And so my question to you is, how do you think, if you were, like, fully committed to this occult, if you, like, put yourself in the shoes of one of these occult members who literally had trust in this man and believed everything that he said and would do anything and would give themselves up for him, how would you feel in those last moments if, you know, all of this shit just started happening, you know, everybody knows, okay, something's about to happen by the end of today, like, who knows, and then he just comes out and says, all right, this is what we're about to do. Do you think that you would be one of the ones who would be open to fulfilling that final task because you've been fulfilling all these tasks all this time? Right. Why would you not, you know, stick it out to the end? Or would you be hesitant because, hell, you might not want to die in that moment? Like, definitely, you know, like you was just having a normal day.
Definite hesitation, bro. Because just think about it. Like, I know, and I'm for certain there were people there that were, at times, they were like, bro, what the hell are we doing? Like, why are we still here?
No, definitely.
This dude? So, yeah, no, I would definitely be hesitant. And
I agree.
Especially with something so big. That's a huge commitment right
Hell
there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like I always say, people are afraid of the unknown. So the fact that you're making 900 plus people agree to just off themselves because they're faithful to you and your cause, it's like...
And your beliefs.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what makes it even more sad is I feel like out of all these people, because that's a lot of people, I feel like, you know, some of these people were just going with the flow because, okay, you know, like my mom and my dad are doing it, I have to. Why would I not? You know?
And then a good bit of them already lost their families. So it's like, you know, what else do I have?
Exactly. You don't have anything left, and that's exactly where he wanted them.
Exactly. Things were falling apart and had been for a while prior to the visit that Leo Ryan made. A note written by 2 members of the temple had made its way to the public eye. The note stated, "Please help us get out of Jonestown." The amount of defectors from the cult quickly grew to 16 after the note was sent out.
I went from 2 to 16.
Yeah.
And that's just ones that were known.
Right. Leaving the cult was almost impossible, and if anyone did so, they were seen as traitors and were treated as such.
And I definitely feel like with that statement, when they were treated as such, they were probably killed or hunted down.
More than likely, yeah.
Until either, you know, they lost track of them or they succeeded in getting rid of them. And honestly, it's so many people that were a part of this movement, if you will, this organization, that how would you be able to keep up with all of these people? Because mind you, you know, regular people just go missing day by day as well and whatnot. So along with regular crime, you know, how would you be able to pinpoint, damn, is my loved one, you know, in this cult and I just don't know? Or did something else tragic happen to them? Because it's tragic either way.
Yeah, no, definitely. And so, like, the thing for me and the thing that I always think about when it comes to people, like, following a cult leader off somewhere is that...
Once you leave, that's it.
Is that not only are there people inside the cult that maybe double agent and, like, giving out information to the families or this and that. There's that, but there's also the fact that, like, it's so much that, like, your family doesn't know, you know?
Yeah. No. And it's so much that nobody knows. And, of course, these people can't just tell their families what's going on. And especially back then, no social media, no phones. Like, you got to think about that, guys. Like, it was different back then.
Payphones were the thing.
And things, but, you know, things took longer to spread. And so hell, even if you knew that a family member of yours was a part of this, it was probably already too late because they probably are long gone by now because of how long it would have taken for you to get that information. And, I mean, it might not have taken, like, forever, but shit happens quick.
By the time the family would have heard it,
yeah, they probably would have already been in Guyana.
Yeah.
Gone. And what can you do then? At that point,
going to a whole... the money and go to Central America?
Right. Going to a place you've probably never been.
Right.
No. It's crazy. Especially not black folks.
Yeah.
They're not about to go out there.
Right.
You know? So...
Well, they already went out there now.
And it's a very desolate area. It's not very populated at all. That's why he chose the area. Because he knew they wouldn't be able to escape.
Right.
That's why they were in the jungle. It's crazy. Exactly. So now we're going to get into the Kool-Aid. And I'm calling it the Kool-Aid because I don't know if it's like a meme. I really don't know how it came about. I guess the media called it that. Yeah. I don't know. But a lot of people like to make jokes about it. I just ask that you guys kindly don't make jokes about the Kool-Aid in our comments or, anywhere for that matter. Because it's just not a laughing matter. It's not a joke. And yeah, that's all I'm going to say about the Kool-Aid. So, Jim Jones had a plan set in mind. The people of the temple were to drink cyanide-laced punch known as the Kool-Aid.
And just a little bit more about the concoction. It was like grape-flavored acid, cyanide, and there was something else in there, but I do know that it was...
Acid?
Yeah.
God damn. So... does all acid eat your insides out?
Yeah, it's
Jesus.
Literally acid. Like, even the fact
I didn't know if, different acids, are less, deadly, I guess
I'll put it in perspective. If you were to take your stomach acid and put it on a table, it would eat through the table.
That's crazy to think about, even though it doesn't eat through us.
Yeah.
That is weird, but, yeah, I get what you mean. That's scary, though. That's so crazy to know that you're about to die that way. And... mind you, there were, a whole bunch of people there. So you're, it's a line, I'm sure. You're probably waiting, damn, I'm number 500. Yeah, you're sitting here watching people die in front of you. You're seeing how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And yet you're still...
partaking.
Going to take the sip. Knowing, I don't know, I'd be scared shitless.
This is also a big reason why I would be afraid to die, by poison, because... literally this whole deal.
Yeah. Because you did say that in our Q&A episode. Yeah. It is scary to think about. Scary as fuck. And not only, just being poisoned, blindly. Yeah. You know that you're about to...
actively knowing that
you're poisoned. About to... Yeah. And cyanide. What the fuck? What is it? I don't even want to know. But, I don't want to say, what does that taste like? But is that a certain type of acid? What's cyanide?
It's dang.
It's not an acid.
It's not an acid, but it's definitely a poison that you don't want to ingest. I'll put it that way. Because I don't know.
Isn't it used... What is that? Used for, rat poison or something?
No, that's arsenic.
It sounds familiar. Arsenic, okay.
So, cyanide is a chemical compound that is known in the cyanide group, consists of carbon... science stuff. So, basically...
It's just a chemical.
Yeah, it's chemicals.
Okay. A chemical compound.
And to be exact, it's a rapidly acting, potentially deadly chemical that can exist in many different forms.
Okay.
Gas, liquids.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow. And I'm assuming it's potentially deadly, but with that fucking acid added in, it's an automatic.
Yeah, it's over.
That's it. So this plan was to roll out almost immediately and would start with the children. The hundreds of followers began lining up to meet their fate, and not everyone was so willing. Jim's theory of eradicating the children first gave him confidence that with this in mind, the adults would surely follow suit, and many did. So, if you don't know, his plan was to take out the children first, because once we've got the children, the adults are gonna follow suit. Why would they live on without their child?
Right.
And it's just so fucked up. It's just the mind games, the manipulation,
psychology and
everything down to the last minute. He held control over these people's heads.
And that's why I said, religion is a very powerful tool, man.
And children. Exactly. I mean, family,
religion
love.
And emotion and things like that are they're very powerful tools because...
And he knew this.
Even today, people are like, why would you kill a kid? Or why would you do this to, you know? So, yeah.
And, you know, Jim knew this. So he used it to his advantage. And in total, over 900 members had died in belief of Jim. There had been plans in place to roll out the mass suicide, even in different ways, including gunfire. There were also suspicions that Jim was having complications with his health towards the end, causing him to take painkillers excessively and overall just lose hope and faith in himself and his cult.
So,
and I feel like once that happens,
it wasn't even we're just doing this just to do this thing,
just because the government on our ass.
We're doing this because I'm falling apart and I'm insecure about what's gonna happen to me.
Exactly, and it's crazy because he knew that he was about to die anyway.
Right.
So for him, it was nothing. Like, all right, you know, I'm coming to an end, so I might as well take everybody with me.
Right.
Jim himself died alongside his many followers, however, not by the punch, but by a single gunshot wound to the head. There was some speculation that Jim had taken his own life, but there was also a theory, a very popular theory at that was circulating around the time, stating that he had possibly been shot by his nurse, who then turned the gun on herself. And the nurse's name was Annie Moore.
Sounds familiar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Doesn't sound familiar to me. Yeah, so I don't know. What do you think? Do you think he was too chicken shit to take his own fucking
definitely.
life?
That's a fucking shitty way to do it. Like, if you're gonna do it,
right, and do it the way everybody else is fucking
do it.
Right, because why couldn't everybody else line up for a gunshot?
Right.
That, you know, if you think about it, the comparison from dying from a headshot, like a gunshot wound to the head, as opposed to poison, and the pain is probably going to be less, and it's probably going to be a lot quicker with a gunshot.
Mind you, these people died within 15, well, not 15, but like 5 minutes.
Yeah, no, it was real quick.
Yeah.
All of this took place in 5 minutes.
So for you to choose albeit instant way to die as opposed to these people dying in 5 minutes, it's kind of fucked up.
Yeah. And it's so crazy that shit happened fast. 5 minutes?
Yeah. Well,
God.
I don't even know, like, the concentration of everything or how much they put and whatever, but either way.
I don't even want to know.
Yeah.
Ugh. I don't even, like, I can't even fathom how that would taste or, like, what it would feel like going into your body. The fear that, like, once you take that sip, you can't reverse that.
Like your organs are about to fail as soon as you,
It's just too much to put on one's brain. I don't know. It's just crazy. Like, in that moment, what were those people thinking? I wonder. You know?
Well, I don't know. It's hard to say,
I would be
but
scared.
I would imagine it's something along the lines of, well, this is it. I don't have anything else. Who's really gonna?
And I guess if their leader is saying, like, hey, I'm going with you guys.
Right.
And that's who they believe. That's, their whole world at that point. It's just, it's so frustrating, It's crazy.
Because a lot of people, like, all these people, 918 fucking people.
Yeah.
Like that, didn't even get to fully enjoy the capacity of their lives.
Exactly.
And then you just come along and selfishly tell them that, oh, we're all going to die today. Yep, we're going to drink this punch.
Just randomly, Yeah,
and then you didn't even drink the punch.
Right.
You didn't even drink it.
Exactly. So my question to you is, given the theory with the nurse and the other theory with him taking his own life, what do you think he actually did? Like, what do you think happened out of the two?
What do you think actually happened? She definitely shot him. That's what I'm going with. Because, like, in that moment, you're pissed off. You're like, wow, you're really about to make us, make all this punch for all these people.
Well, no, I don't think she shot him because of that. I'm sure he ordered her to do it, so he didn't have to pull the trigger. Because think about it, having somebody else, have the control and, pulling the trigger on you, you don't really know when it's going to go off.
Right.
So, you can kind of, sit there and just, think about other things. But when you have a gun to your own head, I don't think you can have the same thoughts. I think there is a bigger fear of, having the gun to your own head because damn, if I pull this trigger, it's going to go off. And, you get what I'm saying? There's just that fight, that inner fight that you have within yourself that, no, I can't do this.
Right.
Well,
inflicting,
what would I do? What if I miss? And
inflicting pain on oneself is
hard. It's
hard
hard to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so having somebody that you trust, a confidant, to do it for you, his nurse at that, I'm sure he trusted her.
Had to.
Then I could definitely see why he would take the chicken shit route and have her do it. Probably turned his back and everything.
Right.
Closed his eyes, fucking said, you know what, just do it whenever you do it. But, like, that's just weak as hell. Weak as fuck.
Because literally, like I said, you had everybody do this one thing a certain way, and you didn't even do it the way that you instructed.
Exactly.
So you mean to tell me you can't even follow your own directions?
Exactly. One last slap in the face. One last bit of control till the end. You know?
Right.
I'm going to have control over how I die, even though nobody else gets to.
Right.
You know? So it's fucked up.
Sick shit.
So after all these events took place, it was the worst massacre in America. And not by, like, a natural disaster. It was an unnatural mass murder, I guess you could say.
Murder-suicide.
Yeah. This is the worst one that America had ever seen prior to 9/11. And few survivors continued on after this mass tragedy. Countless families were grieving and just wanted to know why. However, answers would never come because what was the reason? I feel like Cardi B. What was that reason? What was the reason?
Right, yeah.
Like, you know?
Why? Why manipulate all these people into taking their own lives and then, you know?
And then even at that point, like, what fear did you really have to, I don't know, to make you think, all right, today we're about to, like, do this because, you know, that dude, that Leo Ryan guy just came, and if he's coming, there's probably other people coming too. Like, you get what I'm saying? Maybe that's what he was thinking.
Just to, like, lead out, even if they were there. Or if
like, okay, we're going to get you before y'all get us.
If somebody had infiltrated, it's like, okay.
Then it's like, okay, y'all going to come, but, you know, there's nothing you can do because guess what? Everybody's with me.
It's like if you are there in disguise and you don't want to be made out, you're going to do it because you don't want to seem like, you know.
Even if you know that you're going to die?
Even if you know.
I don't care if I was undercover or not.
I wouldn't be that committed.
Because there were some people that refused to drink the drink.
And be that committed.
You know, some of them that did refuse, were taken out in other ways, but there were a few survivors, and not very many, but there were a handful of survivors, and a lot of them, you know, had stated after the fact that, like, I lost my whole family that day because, like, they actually had, like, their wife, their kids, like, you know, families were in this cult as well, like. It wasn't just single individual people. Like, people literally uprooted their kids and their wife or whatever. Yes, and followed this man. And so, you know, there were, like, certain people. I think there was this one guy who lost his wife and his kids because he survived and they didn't.
Right.
And then, you know, people losing their parents.
It sucks. Because for me, it's like, okay, yeah, you know, they survived, but they have to deal with, damn, you know, it's just me now. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Literally, just me.
How do you go back to normal from that? You know? It's wild.
Fucked up.
It is. It's really fucked up. And then the aftermath of the occult, after, I'd say, like, within a year after the events took place, the occult disbanded and they went bankrupt. So it literally just continued to go downhill from there. And a lot of people suffered afterwards, you know, the survivors. And there was a lot of survivors' guilt as well. Right. I can only imagine the survivors' guilt being a part of something like that, too.
Right, and watching it go down.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
And there's, like, pictures and a lot of footage of this day. There's a lot of documentation of it. It's very eerie to look at and just see a sea of, like, countless just lifeless bodies. Like, it literally is just all over.
Like,
when you look at the pictures,
if you were to watch the video,
nothing
or, like,
but bodies.
See the pictures, it's nothing but dead people. Well,
nothing. And it's just crazy. So crazy.
Yeah. So,
and it's sad. It's sad as fuck. I hate cults. I hate them. I mean,
and I always notice something with a lot of cults. There's always the leader, and they're always
corrupt.
They're always trying to paint themselves as some divine figure or some message from.
But that's how they hold their weight. That's how they hold that power dynamic.
Like
I'm better than you because think about it. If they didn't, put those titles on themselves, then how could your members fully trust you and fully comply if they can easily say, well, you're just like me, so why can't I be that? If that's the case, why do I have to follow you?
What makes you so special? Like, what makes it different?
Yeah, and so them having those titles, like, oh, I've had the spiritual awakening, or I am the prophecy, I'm the chosen one. It's like, okay, well, damn, this guy might be special. Maybe I do need to follow his demands,
And it goes back to, like I said, like, twice already, like, that allure of a certain religion being created and the shit that the person's saying making so much sense that it's kind of undeniable to you, because how can you disprove it?
Yeah, the unknown.
Yeah.
That is very true. I didn't even think about that. How could you disprove it?
Right.
He's saying all this shit, but he might be right,
How can I tell him he's wrong? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Who am I?
And so then that's when people just... And I hate to say it like this, but that's when people, like, that may not have had the best foundation when it comes to certain morals, I guess, or certain ways of life.
What do you mean?
Like...
Break it down for dummies.
People that are, I guess, weak-minded, in a sense.
I don't even think it's people that are weak-minded that fall into these types of schemes and traps. Right. I think it's people just like gangs. It's people and mobs. It's people who are lacking a sense of community, a lack of family, a lack of love, a lack of finding their place in this world. And those are the people that, unfortunately, are more susceptible to trying to find their place, trying to find their group, and finding it in these, fucked up ass cults, and they don't know it until it's too late. Like, it's not their fault. It's too late at that point. What can you do? And a lot of these cults, they do kill you if you try to leave. It's literally like a gang.
Yeah.
But definitely more sinister, I feel like. I feel like with gangs, it can be more mundane depending on the gang, but with cults, there is a motive, there is a mission to accomplish with cults. It's driven by some sort of power by the leader. Yep. And whether that's a good power or a bad power, it's usually never good, but, it all falls into the hands of the leader.
And it's crazy because you've never seen a cult where anything good has come out of it.
No.
Not one.
Yeah. That's usually how it goes. But with all that being said, I think we covered Jim Jones and the People Simple pretty damn good today. Yeah. And this was our first cult video, and we really enjoyed doing this and getting the information out there, because I feel like there's not a lot of people that know about this specific cult. Right. Maybe there are, but if you do know, let us know. If this is something that's new to you, like, what do you think? Like, how do you feel about this? What does it make you
Or if you're interested in hearing more of this type of stuff, give us some cults. Yeah, give us some names.
We need some recommendations, for sure.
Because, I have a little lineup that I'd be interested in covering, too.
I have a couple that I would love to, talk about. Yeah. But if you like this type of stuff, let us know, and we'll try to find, our next cult to cover, because cults are just a whole nother thing. Yeah. They're a whole nother thing. Ugh, yeah. Fucking hate cults. So, we didn't come up with, actual ending questions for this episode, but I think we both have a couple of off-the-top questions. I know I do. Mm-hmm. You do? Mm-hmm. Okay, what's your first question?
And so, amidst all of this, and, even in the beginning, nobody ever saw anything wrong with him just automatically assuming this type of status?
What do you mean?
Like him just saying, oh, I'm the prophet, or this and that. Nobody saw a problem at that point?
No, because what can you say? You literally just said earlier. How can you disprove somebody?
True enough. But I was saying, nobody was like, huh, Nah, bro. It's just not for me.
I mean, maybe there were some that did, and maybe the ones that didn't end up in the cult. Or maybe some of the ones that did, still followed through and joined the cult, but they learned that, like, well, not even learned. He persuaded them and, tried to show them in certain ways, like, this is how I'm the prophet. This, that, and the third. I provide. I know this. I have so much wisdom. I'm teaching you this. You get what I'm saying? Follow my philosophies. That type of deal. Mm-hmm. I was a church, minister. Yeah. Like, all that type of deal. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I feel like it's definitely just, hi, boy.
What's that?
I feel like it's definitely just that power dynamic.
Yeah.
I mean, what else can you chop it up to be?
Right.
So, my question is, do you think, and I don't know, this might be a tough question to ask, but do you think, because these were people from, like, all over the U.S., do you think that there's a possibility that any family members that you might not know about, like, that you obviously wouldn't have had the chance to meet, do you think that anybody in this cult could have been related to you? Because this was a lot of people.
Nah. I don't even have...
Like a distant, family member that you just didn't know? Or...
Nope.
You don't think so? Mm-mm. I don't know. I don't know if, like, one of my family members was in this.
It definitely is a tough
But I would want to know. That would be interesting to know. Like, I wonder when we do our ancestry test, like, when we, go back and look at our family tree, if we can, like, search up names of family members that would have been alive during that time, or just look at the casualty list of names that they could get from this tragedy and see if any of those names align.
Right.
And if they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. But I thought that would be an interesting question is, do you think there's a possibility one of your family members might have, sadly fucking fell for this nigga's tricks?
Right.
It makes me so mad, y'all. Fuck Jim Jones. Hashtag fuck Jim Jones. Let's make this trending. For real. Hashtag fuck Jim Jones. Say hi, son. Our boy is here to visit. He just woke up from a nap.
Right.
So now we're going to go spend some family time and eat some dinner.
Yeah.
And, that's all we have for episode 30.
With that being said, I'm your host, DJ.
And I'm your host, Sav.
And we'll catch you next time on
Deeper Than Most. And I'm your host, Ollie Wally. I'll say bye, Kate.
He said bye.